Hey, what is going on, guys? DK. Back at you with another video here to bring the 11-game NBA main slate on Wednesday. But before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. Thursday Night Football video I'm going to have up either tonight or early tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that one. If you guys are unable to watch these YouTube videos, I also upload on Apple Podcasts. Link down below. It's called the DKDFS Show. And if you're interested in signing up for premium content, I offer a few different packages on Patreon.com. NBA package where we cover every single main slate and the showdown slates. We'll get to my lineup here in a sec. NFL, same thing. And then esports package that includes Call of Duty and CSGO. And I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, PrizePicks. I was checking the board for tomorrow. Right now, I don't see any up for fantasy points. They just have the board up for single stats. So yeah, if you guys are new and not familiar with PrizePicks, two different ways you can play. The first way is PrizePicks posts players and projected fantasy scores, and you either take the over or the under, or you can go to single stat and take over under and like straight up points, rebounds, assists, three-pointers made. You can also mix and match sports, so they have every single sport you can think of, basically college, baseball, everything. So yeah, if you guys want to try it out and sign up, use my code DKDFS. That is DKDFS, all one word. You get 100% match up to $100. So you deposit using my code, $100, you get a free $100 to play with. And finally, I want to thank you guys again for the overwhelming support in the first video and live stream. We had over 300 concurrent viewers, almost 3,000 viewers on the first video. Really do appreciate all you guys. If you could, hit the like button. Let's try to aim for 150 on this one. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. I will be doing a YouTube live stream tomorrow, general Q&A, so make sure to check that one out. All right, so before we get into players and their prices for the 11-game slate, let's look back at my lineup here from the first main slate of the year. So I got a quick question for you guys, though, before I look at my lineup. Was LaMarcus Aldridge, was he serious? Was he serious? Or, like, he had to be trolling, right? There's no way he was actually trying when he's out there. That's just my question for you guys. Like, was LaMarcus Aldridge serious tonight? He looked like he never stepped on a basketball court before. And this is a guy I know, right? Trust me, I know. He's dust. He's washed. I know. But he's still a solid fantasy player, right? He's a guy that is a really good point per minute guy. We saw it all preseason from him. We saw it last year when he played for the Nets team in limited action. He was good. So you mean to tell me I go for a low-owned Aldridge, and the guy looks like he's never stepped on a basketball court before? I've never seen anything like it. I was on the Discord. It's like, I've never seen him play. He looked scared. Like, he didn't know what he's doing. Shot 10% from the free throw line. Just normally, I think he's like a 70% free throw shooter. Just can't hit the broadside of a barn. Absolutely ruining the BEAL play for me in the main slate. We'll get to the showdown in a sec. But, God, yeah. The Brooklyn Millsap 5 minutes. Really, Steve Nash? Really? Javon Carter playing big minutes. Javon Carter. So, yeah, me rolling the dice on the backup bigs for Brooklyn. A fastball right down the middle. Complete swing and a miss by me in that call. Just an absolute whiff. I thought they would get more minutes. I thought Aldridge would actually be a decent player and not look like the worst player ever. I thought both players would play mid-teens minutes, and I thought both were going to be under-owned. They were, and Millsap barely plays, and Aldridge, absolute massive bust. But yeah, the rest of my lineup, I was getting contrarian. Like, I knew I was fading chalky plays and guys like Nora and Grayson Allen. Obviously, the Drew Holiday injury. Once Drew Holiday went down, I knew I was pretty much dead because that really boosted the minutes and usage for guys like Grayson. Sorry about that. Grayson Allen and Jordan Nwora. But yeah, the rest of my lineup, Poole and Bielitsa, absolutely smashed. Poole even got a little bit banged up, lost some minutes there. Giannis, Harden were both solid. Steph was really good. Otto Porter played like 10 minutes. I don't know what that rotation was for Golden State. You're playing Dusty Iguodala over Otto Porter. Like, I'm sorry, Otto Porter is actually a pretty solid player, good defender, much better player than Iguodala and JTA at this point in his career. But yeah, Steve Kerr just decided to run a preseason rotation basically. So that was it for the main slate. Actually did end up getting pretty close to the cash in tournaments because of Bielitsa GOAT. But in the showdown slate was this close. This close. Steph Curry, the captain with Poole, LeBron, AD. Bielitsa was a guy I was really hammering home on Patreon. Mentioned him a couple times in YouTube videos. Like, I like Bielitsa a lot. And then Bazemore, who just airballed like 5 threes. Like, just... yeah, but so the tilting part here is I was highly considering entering the $200 showdown contest, but I feel like it never works when you chase a loss, right? I was tilting so hard from the Nets rotation. I was like, all right, I'm going to enter the showdown. I didn't end up pulling the trigger because it never works out. Well, sure enough, if I did, I would have won $3,000. So the tilt is really real for me. But yeah, the showdown ended up getting close to breaking even, again, because of Bielitsa absolutely smashed. But I do want to shout out a couple big winners here. Let's see. $137 into $500. Dustin turning $17 into $1,500. Massive ROI there. Yeah, my boy LSU with a big win. He loves the cash games. He had a solid night. $15 into $200. Torrey with another bank. This was, I think, the exact lineup I had. Yeah, Steph captain with LeBron, AD, Poole, Bielitsa, Bazemore. I think I was just a smaller field tournament. So yeah, overall, I think it was a really solid night. It was just LaMarcus Aldridge, man, ruining a really good opening night for myself. But yeah, even in the Discord, we had multiple takedowns. Maybe I'll tweet some out after this if you guys are curious. But yeah, if you avoided Aldridge, I feel like it was a pretty good night if you're a Patreon member. So yeah, guys, that is it for the look back. Again, had a really solid night in the showdown. Was this close to taking it down. If I would have entered that $200 contest, would have made $3,000. So double tilt here of not entering the higher stakes showdown lineup, and then LaMarcus Aldridge. He should never play a minute of basketball again. All right, so that is it for the look back, guys. Let's now talk about these 11 games. We have a lot to go over here, so let's quickly take a look at some Vegas odds. Bulls and Pistons, 220 over under. The Bulls are 5-point favorites. Pacers and Hornets are 223.5 over under. Hornets 2-point favorites. Celtics and Knicks 218.5 over under. The Knicks 2-point favorites. Washington and Toronto are 218.5 over under. Raptors 2.5-point favorites. Cavs and Grizzlies 216.5 over under. Grizz are 7.5-point favorites. Rockets and T-Wolves are 227.5 over under. Two bad teams going up against each other. This one could definitely shoot out. 5.5-point favorites in Minnesota. 76ers and Pelicans at 226 over under. 76ers 3-point favorites. Magic and Spurs at 212.5 over under. The Spurs are 5.5-point favorites. Thunder and Jazz. This one has some blowout risk. 12. Yeah, the Jazz favored by 12. 220.5 over under. A couple late night games. Denver and Phoenix 223.5 over under. Suns 6-point favorites and Kings Blazers. The late night hammer 232.5 over under. Blazers 5-point favorites. That is the highest over under on the slate. So let's start off with the Indiana Pacers, and at the top, DOMANTAS, SABONIS. Again, you guys watched my DFS videos for the last 3 years. You know I love playing Sabonis. Just combination of high floor, high ceiling, can go get a triple-double almost every single night. It is a good matchup here against the Hornets, so I think Sabonis makes for a very, very safe spin up. Now, we still have no LeVert. Brogdon expected to be back. He's probable. Now, the price at 7.5, I don't love the price. Curious to see what they do with the starting lineup. Like, Chris Duarte is a guy that I think could have a really solid season, but with Brogdon most likely in, that definitely hurts his usage. Like, his upside goes way up when he's playing more of the point. And if Brogdon is going to play, then obviously that hurts Duarte a little bit. But again, I'm curious, like, does he maybe start at the 2 with Brogdon, with LeVert out? We'll see. So curious on that one. So possibly a guy like Chris Duarte, who looked really solid in the Summer League and the preseason. Miles Turner's kind of just always fine option for me. Like, he'll play close to 30 minutes. He'll block some shots. but really doesn't have a huge upside unless he goes for one of those games where he has like 5-6 blocks. The other value on the Pacers, again, I'm curious to see what they do with the starting lineup, right? Like, obviously, it's going to be Sabonis, Turner, and Brogdon, but who else starts? Does Duarte move in the starting lineup? Does, a guy like Justin Holiday, if he plays? We have Jeremy Lamb, also questionable. So, like, if they're both out, there could be some more value here, but really would want to see, like, maybe they start Torrey Craig, but that's just, I don't want to play Torrey Craig, really. So, yeah, Pacers, monitor some news, couple guys banged up, but really it's a bonus at the top. It's Duarte for value if, in fact, he does start. Moving on to the Hornets. So we have Terry Rozier and Bridges, both probable, expect both to go. Really, guys like Hayward, Bridges, too expensive for me. Even PJ Washington, I'm not dealing with his foul trouble issues. I think LaMelo Ball is the guy for me at the top at 7-7. A guy that probably plays 30 to 35 minutes, is going to handle the ball a ton, and has triple-double upside. So I do like LaMelo. Below that, Rozier is playable, but like he's too close in price to me to LaMelo. I'm just going to prefer the guy who I think has a higher floor in LaMelo Ball. Again, we want with the wings like Hayward, Bridges, Washington feel too pricey. I'm definitely not paying $6K for Plumlee, so not much else here on the Hornets. Moving on to the Chicago Bulls, the preseason GOATs, right? They won the preseason NBA championship. They look phenomenal. This core four is looking pretty solid of Lonzo, DeRozan, LaVine, and Vooch. We'll start with Vucevic at the top at 9K. I like the matchup for him. I don't necessarily love the price. I think there's a couple other centers that might have a little bit more upside. LaVine at 8.7. My issue with LaVine is Lonzo Ball is going to handle the ball a lot for this team. So LaVine's going to be playing more of the off ball, whereas last year he was handling the ball a decent amount. So that's the issue with LaVine. I think the floor is a little bit lower. The price on Lonzo, I think, looks pretty solid. He looked good in the preseason. He's just a guy that can really do it all, right? He doesn't have to score to get you there. He can have a bad shooting night and still go for like 40 fancy points. A guy that's good at getting the blocks and steals. Obviously going to get a lot of assists. A good rebounder. So I think Lonzo makes for a very safe play. Do prefer him to a guy like DeRozan. And there's a couple of value plays I'll mention here. Patrick Williams at 4.2K. Rookie that should start. And we probably get, 25 to 30 minutes from him. Now, he's not going to be the top option on offense, obviously, but he's a good defender. I think he is viable. And then I do have some interesting Caruso off the bench, too. He should get some solid run. I'm expecting probably at least 20 minutes from him. Another guy that can really stuff the stat sheet. So I like Caruso for value. I like Lonzo. Probably my two favorite plays there on Chicago. Moving on to Detroit. So Detroit's just, I don't know. Everyone's kind of just pricing this mid-range. Guys like Grant, Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart. You have Kelly off the bench, Jackson, Killian Hayes. They're all kind of like secondary plays. I don't know if there's one guy that really stands out to me. Again, like Killian Hayes probably starts at the point without Cade. Like the starting lineup's probably going to be Grant, Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, Killian Hayes, and then I don't know who else starts. I'm thinking. I know Frank Jackson played well in the preseason, maybe Josh Jackson, but like it's just a team of like, again, they're very balanced. I don't know if there's one guy that really stands out. Like Kelly O's a high usage guy off the bench, but he's 6K. They're kind of all just fine, but no one I'm really prioritizing. Let's move on to Boston. So Boston, Jaylen Brown is currently questionable. I would think he'll be good to go, but we'll have to monitor that. If Jaylen Brown's out, obviously Jason Tatum makes for a really solid spend up. If Jaylen Brown is in, then both Boston Stars are secondary options in a tougher matchup against the Knicks. Marcus Smart and Schroeder, don't love the prices on either. Now there is no Al Horford, so that's pretty significant because Robert Williams and Enes Kanter probably get a decent amount of run. Now, the only concern is they do have Grant Williams, who at times they'll play at the 5-2. So they can still run a three-headed monster, I guess, at center. Rob Williams at 5-1, a little bit up and down the preseason, but normally this is a guy that is a solid point per guy. And I think if he stays out of foul trouble, probably plays at least 20 minutes. So viable for tournaments. The same with Kanter. I'm not convinced on his minutes. If I knew Enes Kanter was going to play like over 15, 20 minutes, I would definitely play him. Like he's a really solid point per guy. I'm just not sure if the minutes are going to be there, even with Horford out. So I think those two are only GPP plays for me. Moving on to the Knicks. Well, the thing with the Knicks is just the massive minutes, right? You're probably getting like 40 minutes of Randall every single night. So matchup-wise against the Celtics, not great, but not terrible. I think he's a very safe play because, again, as long as he stays out of foul trouble, probably plays massive minutes. Now, Kemba's going to start at the point guard, but you also have high usage guys in Derrick Rose and quickly off the bench. So I don't love the pricing on Rose or Kemba. A little bit interesting guy like quickly for GPPs, but I don't know how many minutes he gets. Fournier is too score independent for my liking. RJ Barrett is just kind of fine. Now, Mitchell Robinson was back. I'm curious to see if he ends up starting. Taj Gibson, I guess, is just the best player in the world. If you guys played preseason DFS, he was absolutely smashing. But Mitchell Robinson is the guy that I do think has more upside than him. So I think Robinson's intriguing here for tournaments. But if Noel's going to be available too, then that's 3 centers, and then I'll probably just stay away from the Knicks and their centers. Moving on to Washington. So keep an eye on Brad Beal news. He appears to be fine for the opener, but this would be obviously massive if he can't go. Sorry, I can't talk. So yeah, Beal, if he plays fine for tournaments, this is going to be not that good of a Washington team, and he's probably going to play big minutes. But there's a couple guys, in my opinion, that really stand out for their prices on Washington. Spencer Dinwiddie is one. 4.9K for a starting point guard in a solid matchup here. He's probably going to play at least 30 minutes. I really like that price on Dinwiddie. Kuzma does have some upside, floor a little bit low, but like if he's knocking down some shots, he had a couple big games in the preseason. I think he is viable. And then you have the 2 centers in Daniel Gafford and Montrezl Harrell, who I think are both underpriced. They're going to split time at the center. So like I think if both stay out of foul trouble, they probably both play 24 minutes. I really don't think they play anyone else at center. So Gafford, phenomenal shot blocker. The only concern is, can he stay out of foul trouble? And you guys know if you play Daniel Gafford, honestly, probably like a 70% chance he gets in foul trouble. So if you can have one of those rare opportunities, and it happened for me in the preseason where I played him at low ownership and he actually stayed out of foul trouble and got like 40 fancy points. If he stayed, the only issue with Gafford is fouls. If Daniel Gafford didn't have foul trouble issues, he would be like a lock on this slate, right? But there's a really good chance that he gets in foul trouble. So I think he's more of a tournament play, whereas Montrezl Harrell, less foul risk, I think plays similar minutes, maybe a little bit of a safer option, also cheaper. So I like both Washington centers a good amount. I think Dinwiddie is way too cheap, and then I have some interest in Beal at the top. And then, yeah, a guy like KCP at 3-4, he's in play too. Is going to start, a little reliant on scoring. But yeah, I just think the pricing on some of these Washington team in general, besides Beal, very underpriced. All right, moving on to Toronto. So again, Siakam's still going to be out. Boucher is questionable. We'll see if he goes, because that's pretty significant. If Chris Boucher can't go, then we're looking at a really solid value play here, and a guy like Precious Achiuwa, who started at the center position in every single preseason game and played big minutes and looked really good. And I'm not afraid of Gafford or Harrell on the defensive end. So if there's no Boucher and Precious starts, I like the price on him a good amount. Now, there is Kem Birch back, so Kem Birch will eat into those minutes a little bit. And again, if Boucher plays, then that's 3 centers. But yeah, that price on Precious looks pretty good to me. Again, no Siakam, so I'm expecting the starting lineup to be Fred VanVleet, OG, Goran Dragic, Scottie Barnes, and Precious. And the price on Scottie Barnes here too. What are we doing, DraftKings? 3.4K for Scottie Barnes? This is a guy that played massive minutes in the preseason. They already said he's going to be a big part of this rotation. Almost a guarantee he starts, in my opinion. And he's 3.4K. So there are some very underpriced guys on this slate. So Precious, Scottie Barnes, I'd like a good amount. I think Goran Dragic is fine. Now, the minutes on him probably won't be as high, but he'll be productive when he's out there. And then, OG and VanVleet are going to play big minutes, a good matchup too. So, yeah, this Washington-Toronto game looks pretty appealing to me. All right, let's move on to Cleveland. So, Cleveland, where they have 50 bigs, this is just such a weird roster. Sexton and Garland at the top, 8-3 and 7-6. Don't love the price points on either. Would rather go to Garland over Sexton. But again, there's going to be better point per dollar plays in the slate. As far as the bigs go, well, we have Jarrett Allen. We have Kevin Love. We have Mobley. We have Lauri Markkanen. It's just a weird roster. If I'm going to roll the dice on one of these bigs, I think it's going to be Evan Mobley, who actually looked pretty solid in the preseason. A good shot blocker, and he's relatively cheap. So I think Mobley is probably my favorite play in Cleveland. A little bit interested in Ricky Rubio as a contrarian play in the mid-range. I think he'll be a big part of this team off the bench. But yeah, it's just like they just have all guards and like bigs. It's just a really, really strange roster. All right, let's move on to Memphis. So Memphis, John Morant at the top of 9.1K. I do think makes for a pretty solid spend up. I've said this a lot in the preseason, but I'm going to say it for a few more times in the regular season too. With Jonas Valanciunas no longer on this roster, that is a massive usage bump to John Morant, right? Steven Adams is not a guy they're going to post up. So John Morant just gets a lot more usage. And we've seen some big games from him in limited action in the preseason. So I think John makes for a good spend up. Triple J is a headache. Just full disclosure, if you play Triple J, like a Daniel Gafford, he is always in foul trouble. So if I knew Triple J was going to stay out of foul trouble in this game, I would like him a lot. Same thing I said about Gafford. Probably a 70% chance this guy's in foul trouble. So again, if he stays out of foul trouble, I think he'd have some a big upside, some upside for sure. And then I think a very safe play here is Steven Adams at 4.7. Not a guy that has insane upside, but probably going to get a double-double, probably going to block a couple shots, can get some putbacks. Cleveland's a big front court, obviously. Probably plays around 30 minutes. I just think 4.7 is too cheap. So I think Steven Adams is a very safe play on the slate. And then, yeah, Dylan Brooks is out, so I'm curious to see what Memphis does with the starting lineup. Like, Bane probably starts. And then, so it's going to be Ja, Triple J, Steven Adams. They've been bringing Slow-Mo off the bench, so it could be, they could move Melton in the starting lineup too with Bane. So maybe a little bit interesting some value here depending on what they do with the starting lineup for tomorrow. All right, let's move on to Houston. So Houston at the top, Christian Wood, 8K. Fine. Solid matchup against Minnesota. He had a really big game the last preseason. Kevin Porter Jr. at 7.8. I'm pretty high on Kevin Porter Jr. this year. Price point for this one, though, I don't love it. I do think he's viable, but like would have wished he was a little bit cheaper. Don't play KJ Martin, who I'm not sure is going to be in the regular season rotation. Don't play Kyrie Thomas. I'm not playing that price for Eric Gordon. Daniel Tice is just fine. He'll start and probably play low, mid-20s minutes. There's a couple cheap options, though, that I'm intrigued by. Like, I'm not sure why Jalen Green is this cheap. Now, another kind of headache here. He's rookie. He's talented, but he's super reliant on the scoring. And if you guys followed my preseason content, there was one game I liked him a lot because of his price, and he shot awful and had like 10 turnovers. So the floor is still somewhat low with him, but like this is too cheap for a guy that's going to start and probably play around 30 minutes. So do have some interest in Jalen Green there for value. And then, no surprise to anyone, I kind of like Sengun here as a contrarian value play. He's a guy that, follow me on Twitter, I think he wins Rookie of the Year. He is super talented on the offensive end. I think he might be starting for this team down the line. I think he'll end up starting over Daniel Tice, and he's flat min price. Now, again, it's a risk. We don't know what the regular season rotation is going to be. He's for sure going to play, but how much does he play coming off the bench, right? So it's a risk, but yeah, I'm intrigued by Sengun there for GPPs. All right, moving on to Minnesota. So the big three, Cat, D'Lo, Edwards, all in play. Would have wished it was a little bit cheaper, and I like the matchup for these guys. Cat at the top at 9.7, viable. D'Lo at a couple big games in the preseason. And Edwards at 7.1. I'm probably going to pass on him. He didn't look as good in the preseason, kind of deferred a bit to D'Lo and Cat. So at that price point, I'm probably not going to go there. And then like below the big three, not a ton I love. Like, yeah, Naz Reid's going to come off the bench to be productive, but I don't think it's necessary in the slate when we have other starters that are going to play like 30 minutes priced around Naz Reid, right? So like below the big three, I just don't think it makes sense to go to anyone. All right, Philadelphia and the New Orleans Pelicans. So Ben Simmons, what a weird situation that is. Showing up to practice, just half-assing it and getting kicked out and suspended now. Obviously, he doesn't want to be there. It just, I've never seen anything like that. But yeah, we'll start with Joel Embiid at 10.6. So I like him a good amount here at the top. No Ben Simmons. He's going to be their clear go-to guy. Has a good amount of upside. JV, not the best defender. So I do like Embiid a lot there at the top. Tobias at 7.6 is playable. He does get a usage bump without Ben Simmons. But yeah, definitely prefer spending up a few $1,000s more for Joel Embiid. And then we got to talk about Tyrese Maxey, who I think is going to have a breakout year this year. I like him a good amount. This is a guy that is super aggressive on the offensive end. I think he's going to start at the point guard. Obviously, no Ben Simmons. And then Milton is out as well. So I'm pretty sure Maxey starts at point. If he starts at point, he probably plays at least 25 minutes. So I'm pretty high in Maxey there for value. But yeah, Seth Curry, a little bit too pricey. Danny Green, sure, you can, like, both Danny Green and Seth Curry are viable, but they're scoring dependent. So yeah, it's Embiid at the top, and I like Maxey there for value. All right, moving on to the Pelicans. So Zion Williamson is out in this one. Brandon Ingram at 7.7 is for sure in play. Obviously gets a usage bump without Zion. Jonas Valanciunas, my only issue is he's going up against Joel Embiid. I really don't like targeting centers against Embiid because there's a really good chance he gets in foul trouble. And JV is prone to foul trouble at times. So as much as I love Jonas Valanciunas, I'm probably going to pass on him in this slate because I'm just too worried about the foul trouble issues. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what the Pelicans do with the starting lineup. They've been mixing and matching different lineups. Like, for some reason, at times, they start Garrett Temple. I don't know what they're going to do. NAW at 6.6, we'll see. If he comes out the bench, it's going to be too pricey. If he starts, I think you can definitely make the argument for him. He's going to take another big leap forward this year. Someone I like. I like him. I like Jordan Poole to win. One of those two to win Most Improved Player. So I think NAW viable if he starts. If they're going to bring him off the bench and use him as a sixth man, it's going to be too pricey for me. But other than that, I want to see what they do with the starting lineup. Like, maybe a little bit of interest in rookie Trey Murphy, who got some solid run in the preseason. But yeah, that's kind of it for the Pelicans. Moving on to the Magic. So there are some intriguing plays here for Orlando. And let's start with the two bigs in Wendell Carter Jr. and Mo Bamba, who they started next to each other the last two preseason games. Both these guys are good point per minute guys, especially a guy like Mo Bamba, who can go out there and block 5-6 shots. Now, the issue here at Bamba, as I mentioned with a couple guys, he's prone to foul trouble. Fouled out in limited time a couple times in the preseason, so that's the risk. But the upside's pretty high in a guy like Mo Bamba. So kind of like him for tournaments, kind of like Wendell Carter Jr. If they're going to start both these guys next to each other, I think that solidifies the minutes, right? So I actually do kind of like both bigs here for the Magic. This is one of the worst rosters I've ever seen. So these two guys should get a good amount of run. And then point guards, Cole Anthony's too pricey for me. Same with RJ Hampton. The only guy I'd be a little bit interested in is rookie Jalen Suggs, who is questionable, trending towards playing. Again, they're going to rotate in these guards, so I'm just going to prefer the one who's the cheapest, and that is Jalen Suggs. But below that, I don't trust anything else. I'm not going to dusty Gary Harris. Again, the point guard's going to rotate in like Anthony Hampton and Jalen Suggs. So it's really the guys I feel the best about are the two bigs in Carter Jr. and Bamba. Moving on to the Spurs. So, Spurs, I think my favorite player is DeJounte Murray. I think another guy that could have a breakout year. The Spurs is a super young team, and he's going to be one of the leaders on this team, a guy that can really stuff a stat sheet. So I like DeJounte Murray a good amount at that price. Don't mind Derek White, but do prefer Murray at a similar price point. Keldon's too up and down for me. I'm not going to that price, and Thad Young. I think it's Murray, and then a little bit interesting guy like Jakob Poeltl going up against a bigger front court in the Magic with Bamba and Wendell Carter Jr. I would think Poeltl probably plays somewhere in the 25 to 30 minute range, which I think makes him a pretty safe play. So, like Poeltl, I like Murray. That's probably about it for me. All right, the Thunder. Terrible matchup against the Jazz. Blowout risk. I just don't know what they're going to do with this rotation. I'm not going to spend up on anyone like SGA, Baisley, Dort. I'm not touching. The only guy I'm interested in is rookie Josh Giddey. And we'll see if he starts. He's the guy that can stuff the stat sheet. So if he does start, I think he's in play for value. But other than that, again, like the Magic, this is just one of the worst rosters I've ever seen. It's just gross. The players on this team are just disgusting. So it's Josh Giddey, and that's really it. Moving on to the Jazz. So my issue here is blowout risk. So Mitchell at the top, I'm probably going to pass on. I'm not playing overrated Rudy Gobert. Mike Conley at 6'2" is in play, but again, does have some blowout risk. So I think Conley would probably be my favorite point per dollar play. But the Jazz are just a team. All right, when this team is fully healthy, which they basically are, they're always just secondary options for me. Like, you really need some injuries for the Jazz for me to be interested in this team because they're just a super balanced team. So, and there's some blowout risk too. An 11-game slate. Don't know if it's worth it. All right, Denver and Phoenix. So don't worry about Jokic MPJ. They just sat out last game. Jokic at the top of 10-4 is going to be one of the higher usage guys this season. Matchup against the Suns, not necessarily the best, but definitely in play at the top. MPJ with no Jamal Murray, I think, is definitely viable. He's going to get a ton of shot attempts up for this team. Now, Will Barton came back and looked pretty solid. I think he makes for a good GBP play. The pricing, he goes a little bit overlooked. And the point guard position, it's going to be Monte Morris, PJ Dozier, and rookie Bones Hyland, who they already confirmed is going to be a part of the bench rotation. So if I'm going to roll the dice on one of these guards for Denver, it's going to be rookie Bones, who looked good in the preseason. So another guy that I have a little bit interested in. I think he'll go overlooked. Moving on to the Suns. So the Phoenix Suns matchup against Denver, not the best. Ayton, I'll pass. CP3 and Booker seem priced about right. Another team that's kind of balanced, right? Jay Crowder, Bridges, Cam Johnson. It's just no one really stands out to me here. So they're all just secondary plays. And finally, Sacramento and Portland. So this is a game that right now the highest total of the slate. So start with De'Aaron Fox. I'm a huge De'Aaron Fox fan, but would have wished, again, he was cheaper than 9.3K. So do have some interest in Fox as a spend up because of the high total game. He'll handle the ball a ton, but I think more of a contrarian spend up option. I'm not paying 7.4K for Harrison Barnes. I don't love the price of Buddy Hield either. Halliburton 7K, again, like the pricing, would have wished some of these guys were a little bit cheaper. Now, what we know is Bagley is not going to be in the regular rotation. So that kind of solidifies a center rotation of Holmes and Tristan Thompson, I think. So I think the starting lineup is going to be the top 5 guys here with Fox at the point, Halliburton at the 2, Hield, Barnes, Holmes. That's what I think starts. And then you'll have bench guys like Tristan Thompson, Harkless, Terrence Davis, Davion Mitchell. Probably be in that rotation. So, yeah, I think Fox is really the only guy at the top I'm interested in and more of a contrarian option. And then, yeah, Holmes and Tristan Thompson. I think we probably get around 25 minutes from Holmes. Probably better point per hour plays in the slate. Don't play Bagley. Again, Bagley's not going to be in this rotation. And then, yeah, I think that's really it. Like, rookie Davion Mitchell is a really solid defender, but I think there's value plays that have a little more upside. All right, finally, Portland. So we have Damian Lillard at the top at 10.1K. Really good matchup here. Firmly in play in the slate is one of the better spend ups. CJ at 7.2 at times takes a back seat to Lillard, but you're also going to get a $3,000 discount. So both the Blazers guards are in play. But to no one's surprise, by far my favorite play on this roster, the Bosnian Beast, Jusuf Nurkic. I like this matchup a lot for him against the Kings. Rashawn Holmes, Tristan Thompson, not scared of them defensively. If Nurkic, knock on wood, can stay out of foul trouble, he'll play around 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more. So I'm pretty high on a guy like Jusuf Nurkic. I think he has a good amount of upside. Powell Covington should start, but again, I don't love the price points on those two. And yeah, I think that's really it for Portland. And yeah, guys, I think that's going to do it for the video as well. So if you have been enjoying the content, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let me know in the comment section below how you did tonight in the main slate showdown slate. Did you cash? Did you not? If you didn't, who let you down? Was it Dusty LaMarcus Aldridge? Again, I'm not going to be over that one for a while. But yeah, guys, thanks again. Have a great night, and I will see you all tomorrow in the live stream.